Hi, my name is Bert Stefani and I admit that I'm a high-end prime lens snob. But when Sirui asked me if I was interested in testing out their new lineup of fast but very affordable prime lenses, I just couldn't say no. You see, back when people were still debating if that digital photography thing had any future, my first fixed focal length was the Canon 50mm plastic Fantastic. It may not have been the best lens, but it allowed this young photographer with limited resources to create work that wasn't possible with a kit lens. I'm sure that today there are other photographers on a budget who are looking for a lens that will allow them to work in low light and shoot with a thin depth of field. Disclaimer, Sirui did send me these lenses for free if I agreed to do a video about them. But as always, no one except for me has any say in the content of my videos. I receive a ton of emails to review products, but I only say yes to stuff I think my audience might be interested in, and I keep complete editorial freedom at all times. Now, if you're looking for test charts, measurements and comparisons, please look elsewhere. I did what I usually do. I tested these lenses by photographing live in general, and once I got a feeling for these lenses, I did a portrait shoot with my friend Christina. Sirui launched 3 lenses, a 23, a 33 and a 56mm. They said they have one more in the pipeline, but I have no idea which focal length that will be. The 3 current lenses will be sold in a kit or separately. All the lenses are f1.2, so that makes the 56 just as fast as Fuji's own offering, and the 23 and 33 even faster than the top of the line Fujinons. And the best part, they will all come at a fraction of the price. I don't have the exact pricing, but I believe they will be somewhere between half and a third of the price of the Fujinons. Now, does that sound too good to be true? Let's find out. Sirui definitely wanted to give these lenses a bit of a different look. They have this mix of grey with a blue line and a kind of black carbon fiber look part. Whether you like this look or not is a matter of personal taste, of course. Personally, I prefer a more subtle look. But if you want something really special, these lenses will be also available in white. If you are used to the Fujinon lenses, you can immediately feel that these Sirui lenses are not made to the same standards. They are light and the housing seems to be made mostly out of plastic. The lens hoods and lens caps, they feel a bit cheap, but I guess that doesn't do much to the way they function. There's no weather sealing and no aperture ring. I also find them to be very tight when mounting them on the camera. All that doesn't mean that these lenses are bad, but maybe not the best choice for hard professional use. On the flip side, the cheaper construction means that these lenses are considerably lighter and cheaper than their Fujinon counterparts. Next to the lens mount is a USB-C connection, which I presume is for firmware updates. And a big plus is that all the 3 lenses share the same filter size. I'm not going to lie, the AF speed, although not too shabby, isn't on par with the modern Fujinon lenses. And also the accuracy and reliability is not on the same level. But the autofocus is probably comparable with what we had just a few years ago within the Fuji ecosystem. In normal daily life situations, I found the AF perfectly acceptable. And to stress the focus system to its limits, I shot one of my daughter's basketball games with the Sirui lenses wide open. Low light, fast, unpredictable action, that poses a challenge to any lens. And I honestly didn't expect much, but all three lenses performed remarkably well. Now, I wouldn't shoot sports professionally with these lenses, but I got a good amount of keepers and my daughter's teammates were over the moon with their action pictures. Next up was a portrait shoot with my friend Christina. I shot everything wide open again. I don't expect the lens to be at its best wide open, but I think it should be perfectly usable. I noticed quite a few shots in which the focus was slightly off, and while that might have been acceptable in the basketball pictures, it's a bit more distracting in portraits. An AF miss here and there is to be expected with such a shallow depth of field, but I'd like to see Sirui to continue to improve the performance of the AF system in these lenses. Now, bear in mind that these are pre-production samples and the USB-C port suggests that Sirui wants to keep improving the firmware of their lenses. All in all, the AF performance may not be top of the line, and we probably shouldn't expect this from budget lenses. But unless you're shooting professional fast action wide open, these lenses perform well enough for most tasks. As expected, the sharpness, contrast, colors and all-round image quality of the native Fujinon lenses is a notch higher than the Sirui's. And you won't get the most out of the 40 megapixel sensor of the X-T5 and the X-H2 with these lenses. But I do find the results to be perfectly usable, even wide open. I don't do scientific tests and comparisons, but let's just say that I wouldn't have any issues to provide paying clients with images shot with these Sirui lenses. Are these Sirui lenses competitors to the top of the line Fuji prime lenses? No. Are these lenses good value for money? Absolutely yes. Would I personally shoot Fujinon or Sirui? Well, I shoot 90% of all my work with just a couple of prime lenses. So for me it makes sense to invest in the best lenses that I can afford. I also love aperture rings and I shoot often in challenging weather conditions. These lenses pay my bills, so going for the Fujinons is a no-brainer for me, but your mileage may vary. And if you would have asked me this question 20 years ago, I might have gone for the Siruis. Would I recommend these series? Well, yes, definitely, if you are on a budget. I probably could do most of my work with these lenses if I had to. Also, if you only occasionally need a really fast prime, these are good options. And it's good that Fujifilm shooters get more and more options, also autofocus options. So kudos to Sirui, and I'm curious to see what we'll get from them in the future. Can I just talk less about stuff and more about how I photographed the beautiful Christina? Sure, let's take a look. Christina is an artist, a photographer, and above all, a friend. And it's always a pleasure to have her in front of the camera. Despite the fact that we hadn't seen each other in over a decade, the mutual trust came back after just a few minutes of shooting. I never expect anything from the first few minutes of a shoot anyway. The pictures at the start aren't important. It's about building that trust and just getting warmed up. So we went to an empty parking garage where I knew where we wouldn't get disturbed and we would have some great easy soft light. I generally start a shoot with a longer lens, in this case the 56, because it's easier in many ways. A longer lens gives a tighter frame and more separation from the background, so there's less to worry about. The subject doesn't have to wonder what to do with their hands or legs because those are not in the frame. And the photographer doesn't have to worry about the background as it will be out of focus anyway. The perspective of a longer lens is also more flattering, which helps if you're building a rapport with your subject. And you can safely stay outside of the personal space of someone who doesn't know you yet. Once your subject trusts you, you can go closer and shoot with a wider lens. I personally love the natural perspective of the 33mm or a 50 in full frame. Apart from the angle of such a lens, what I love even more is that it forces me to go into my subject's personal space. It's my job to earn that, and it's not always easy. But I find as soon as someone lets you come that close, it brings an intimacy and honesty into the portrait. Even wider lenses can work as well, but it can get tricky quickly. And it doesn't work with every face. Lately I have been experimenting a bit with this, and wide-angle portraits are definitely interesting as long as you don't overdo it. We walked to a different spot under a bridge because I wanted to try some more frontal and even softer light. The results were a bit boring until Christina pulled some random plants out of the ground and we started to play around with them. It's important to be open to crazy ideas, even when they don't seem to work at first. It was only when I went back to the 56mm that I was getting somewhere with some close-up portraits, and those led to using a concrete wall as our backdrop. The climbing plants worked well with the plants Christina was holding, and the green contrasted really well with the concrete wall and Christina's red sweater. We hadn't seen each other in over 10 years, so instead of continuing to shoot, we wrapped it up and went for a coffee and a nice chat. And that's it for this video. If you want to stay up to date about new videos, workshops and receive some tips every now and then subscribe to my irregular but never spammy email newsletter. You find it on my website. Bye.